Okay, so let's talk about obedience through no, let's talk about provision through obedience and transitions, right? And I'm going to be reference Elijah in the Bible. When he went to the brook and how the ravens provided for him, and then how he went to the widow house, which she was poor, but God sent him there to a poor woman, not a rich woman, right? You do not know how God is going to provide for you, and neither do I. And oftentimes we try to analyze and try to figure out how God is going to do it. God is not may not do it the same way he did it last time, but you have to know and have faith in him to know that he's going to do it, right? So if this information is helpful for you, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Let's jump into it. One of the hardest truths about trusting God is realizing that provision often changes form, right? What sustained you in one season may not sustain you in the next. God is faithful, but he is also intentional about how he provides and when he and where he positions us to receive it. So, key thing here is provision often changes form as well as position. How are you positioned? Are you where God planted you to be? Are you where you're supposed to be? Right? Positions matters. And not the position as far as titles. Position where you are physically. The story of Elijah teaches us that God will provide, but sometimes that provision comes in unexpected ways through uncomfortable transitions and by requiring obedience when logic says it won't work. Our minds are never think like God's. His ways are not our ways, nor is his thoughts our thoughts. This way that God is pretty much taking me through, I asked him yesterday, like, God, was there not another way that you could have done this? You know, like it's a bit much and it's a lot for me to deal with. But I had to understand that his ways are not my ways. And the reason he's taking me through this way, for whatever reason, it is so he can get the glory, and it's going to benefit me and him at the end of the day, right? Not only that, it's stretching me. I have to decrease so that he may increase in me. Okay, let's talk about Elijah and the ravens, right? God provided to Elijah in an unlikely way, and that is through the ravens. Read the story. God sent Elijah to the brook during a famine. There, God did something unusual. He commanded ravens to bring Elijah bread and meat every day, not one without the other. Now, what does this show us? God is not limited by natural systems, right? He can use unlikely sources to meet our needs. Provision can come even in isolation and obscurity. Elijah didn't argue with God about how he would provide. He simply went where God told him to be. And a lot of times for us, whenever God says, leave something, leave somebody, leave the job, do this, do that, we want to give pushback because we don't see how is that going to work. Like for me, losing a job, I'm like, God, how, I'm thinking in my human mind, how is this beneficial? Because your word said, if I don't work, I don't eat. Lazy hands bring what? Lack, poverty. Right? So for me, I had to get to a place and understand that his ways are not my ways. And whatever he's doing in my life right now, it is that he's going to get the glory, and it's going to benefit me and him. He doesn't do anything that's just going to benefit you being selfish. No. Any and everything God does in our life is to help somebody else, right? Provision flows where obedience goes. So being obedient to his word and obedient to what he tell you to do and how to do it. Partial obedience is still no obedience at all. Eventually the brook dried up, not because God failed, but because the season ended. And a lot of times we want to stay somewhere, overstay our season. I did too. You want to overstay your season. When that season is up, it is time for you to shift. And that's whenever we get stagnated. That's when we get frustrated and uncomfortable because we're trying to work and manage life out of a place that serves us no purpose no more. Okay, so this is where many people get stuck. We assume a dried up brook means God has abandoned us, because a lot of times when the brook do dry up, and the longer you have been walking with God, you know that God does not speak or send a word every day or every week. You know that there are some periods where he's quiet. And in that stillness and in that quietness, that is where we feel like he has abandoned us. And that middle part, or just that part in general, is where a lot of people go backwards. We mourn what used to work. I did too. I mourned what used to work. Now this does not work because it's taking me out my comfort zone. It's unfamiliar to me. I don't know it. I have to rely on God when I say every step of the way. I have to rely on God in this situation, in this season right now. I have to, because I'm at a place that I'm very uncomfortable. I'm at a place that it's not easy for me to function through or know what I'm doing. Like, it's like when I was doing CNA, it was fine because I know that. I know that like the back of my hand. I have no problem doing CNA. I can go back. Like, that's no problem. It's easy for me. But this, what God has called me to do, is not easy at all. And I'm learning it day in and day out, right? But at some point, I had to stop mourning what used to work. I can't be like Lot's wife and look back or want to go back. We resist movement because we're uncomfortable with the familiar. We resist movement because we're uncomfortable with the familiar, which is true. And also, whenever we pray, a lot of times we're praying and saying we're waiting on God, but sometimes we're not giving movement with that prayer. And if you're not giving movement with that prayer, that's how you will stay stuck. But God often allows the brook to dry up to reposition us, not to punish us. A dried up brook is not rejection, it's redirection. It is time for you to shift. Okay. God then sends Elijah to a widow who was poor, struggling, and preparing to eat her last meal with her son. God did not send Elijah to somebody that was rich or had money. He sent Elijah to a woman that was poor. You never know who's going to bless you. Stop thinking that it's the person that has all the money or all you think has all the resources or way up here that person is going to be the one to bless you. When in fact, sometimes it could be that homeless guy. It could be that that addict that got cleaned up but got a word for you. Like, you got to quit thinking about, okay, this person has a lot of money, so this is where my blessing is going to come from. No, it may fair well be a poor person, a lost person, right? So this seems backwards. Why would God send his prophet to someone with nothing? Because provision is not about resources. It's about alignment. Yes, it's about alignment. Elijah had to be aligned with God's instruction. The widow had to be aligned with obedience. God aligned both of them to unlock a miracle. So with me being me, if I go out here and a stranger of some sort come up to me and started talking to me and giving me a word, I am to listen. Because how do I know that what that person is saying to me is not the words that I need to unlock what it needs to be unlocked in me? I love everybody and treat everybody the same. I don't care what color you are. I don't care if you're rich or poor. It just doesn't matter, because you cannot just judge a book by its cover at all. That person, that homeless person that may have a word for me it probably is the key that I need to go to a different level. But yet if I blow them off like, oh, they don't know what they're talking about, how do I know? I just could have pushed away a blessing or pushed away a word, right? God often connects people to each other so both can experience provision. So whoever you're connected to and whoever they're connected to, when God bless you, that person that's connected to you as well is going to be blessed. And then that person will be blessed. It's like a connected dot. God isn't going to just bless you for you to keep it to yourself. No, God bless you with wisdom in order to help others. Not letting people use you, though. We ain't talking about that. Okay, let's talk about having faith in the face of fear. I know for me, these last 2 weeks has been a bit much, and I have faced fear. I have faced a fear, and I know God didn't give me a spirit of fear, and I know that He's going to provide. But sometimes the human side of you are going to worry about something and not worry about it. You don't want to hear what others may say about you, or you don't want to hear the outcome of a situation. But God did not give us a spirit of fear. But sometimes there is a level of fear, especially when you're walking in the unknown. But the more you walk this journey out, the more your faith grows. The more your faith grows, you will get to a place where it won't bother you, and you won't be so and having so much anxiety and all this and that and the third. It'll kind of like calm down. Like for me right now, I'm asking God, like, calm my central nervous system from this situation. And not even just only that, give me rest. Give me rest, because I'm not resting. And the reason that I'm not resting is because a part of me is still worrying about that thing, that situation. Okay, imagine what this woman must have felt whenever Elijah said, hey, give me, make me some food, and knowing that she didn't have enough. A mother stared at the last bit of her food, knowing her son was depending on her, preparing for what she believed was the end. She wasn't lazy. Nowhere in there says she was lazy. She wasn't faithless. She was exhausted, afraid, and out of options. Yet God asked her for something she felt she couldn't give. And a lot of times that's the thing. God is going to ask you for something that you feel that you can't give. And you don't know what you're made of until you go through. You have something to give. Today I was just like, I have no strength. God, you got to carry me. I have no strength for this. And one day I'm going to look back at this situation and be like, dog, I didn't even think I was going to get through it. You asked her for something Elijah asked her for something she felt like she couldn't give. This is when faith becomes real. Not when you have extra, but when obedience costs you something. That'll preach right there for a preacher. It is not when you have that's faith. It's when you're giving when you don't have. Obedience unlocks overflow. Because of her obedience, the jar of flour never ran out. The jug of oil never went dry. Provision became continuous, not one time, but it just kept on going. And as well as the family, right? Obedience turned lack into something that's able to sustain you above and beyond. Obedience is the key. Alignment matters more than amount. This story teaches us God's provision flows through alignment, not abundance. Not abundance. Where you are positioned matters. Who you are connected to matters. Obedience matters even when it doesn't make sense, right? Elijah couldn't stay at the brook. The widow couldn't rely on what she had. But when both aligned with God's word, lack was replaced with lasting provision. The poor woman and Elijah, once they were aligned together in God, with God, look what it produced. Obedience. Obedience. Now, if you're asking, how does this story relate to your life today? How does this story relate to my life today? Sometimes your brook dries up, a job, relationship, routine, or plan, and you feel like you have to figure it out. No, you have to give it to God. When something dries up, like the brook dried up, it's time for you to shift. Sometimes God sends you to people you didn't expect. You got to keep that in mind. Sometimes he asks you to give when you feel empty. And that has been my case. Giving and giving when I feel empty. Sometimes obedience feels risky, but it's the doorway to overflow. And the situation that I'm in right now is very risky. It's very risky, but I'm trusting and believing in God and obeying and making sure I'm aligned with God, with what he said about my life, what the promises are, and just keep having faith and walking through. God may not always provide the way you expect, but he always provides what you need when you stay aligned with him. When the brook dries up, don't panic. I'm telling you, don't panic. Get in your word, don't panic. Provision, don't panic. God is going to provide. When provision shifts, don't resist it. Go, move with it. When obedience is uncomfortable, don't delay. God will provide through obedience, alignment, and trust in his timing. And that is it for today. Just making sure that you're following God's directions, right? And not just only that, making sure that you're not rejecting a person that may be sent from God to benefit the both of you. And if this video is helpful, make sure you hit the like button and make sure you subscribe to the channel. Have a good one.